Hey, what's up? We're back with the Culture Queens. Santanera's in the house.
Hey, what's up? What's cracking? You're with Miss Lowrider Princess in the house.
What up, Big Red Chula here, and you rolling with the Culture Queens. And we got a special sponsor today, Chingas, Numb and Cream.
Shout out to Rudy Pena. Hey, this shit works amazing. I know for a fact because I have used it before. And it's great for eyebrows, for numbing your facial area.
Even private areas, your nipples.
You're gonna
get
a
let's go back there laughing and shit.
Don't be laughing, okay? It works on everything. Your back, right? Something I was saying for
Yeah,
back
if
pain,
you have any
neck
back
pain,
pains, any little aches or maybe your shoulders aching,
for everything.
just rub a little bit and it'll go away. It's such a good cream. It's just not for tattoos or
No, it is for tattoos.
No, I said it's not just for.
Oh,
It's for a lot of other uses. That
Not
anything
just
that
for
hurts, your
tattoo.
heart hurts, rub a little bit.
I was like, wait, I did use it when I had tattoo just to try it out. And that shit works good. So yeah, it's amazing. It's I keep it with me. That's why I have it. Just in case I need to whip it out and give somebody a tattoo on the spot. Or if I need to take somebody's tattoo off, it's good for that as well.
Oh yeah, tattoo removal too, right? He
Yeah.
said that.
But I know Santaneta used it this weekend on your shoulder.
On my back, my lower back. Just put a little bit. You all know I have back problems, so and now I'm wearing the shoes. So. Yeah, I could have been kicked. My leg is numb. My back is numb.
It's numb.
Too.
Yeah.
Shout out to Chingas for
Chingas.
making her leg go up higher.
Look for them on Instagram.
Dance.
Yes.
Yeah.
Chingas numbing cream on Instagram is pretty dope.
Look them up.
Yeah. And the guy's funny too. Shout out to Rudy.
Woo! First of all, I want to send a big shout out to the community that's been standing up on what's going on right now. So it's July something 2025, right? And here we have raids going on. They're taking our people. They're kidnapping our people. It's really ugly out here right now. We're downtown LA right now, and
It is with all the riots. I mean, it's been crazy these past few
scary.
weeks, a lot of just craziness and a lot of support
Sad.
though, a lot of sadness as well, just a lot of family losing their loved ones to bullshit, and just on the way over here, it was a little eerie. I was like, shoot, we got to go a little bit earlier because you never know when shit's going to pop off or, So as we're coming down the freeway, we're, coming into LA and you just never know what you're going to get. So I'm driving and on top of the bridge, the sadness, the signs help us, and it breaks my heart.
Yeah, they've been taking our people. They've been literally kidnapping our people because we don't know. I supposed to be having this race, and we're seeing a lot of kids, their parents being taken away. A lot of the
And
elder
with violence
being abused.
too, like breaking the windows, breaking into the homes.
like very violent. Something just passed though, like I think yesterday or something, where they're not gonna they're just not gonna target. There's a little bit of hope, and keep pushing, people. Keep pushing. Don't back down. Don't get scared. We gotta keep pushing. We gotta keep helping. We gotta keep telling our congressmen that, hey, this is not right. They need to speak for us. I know they have a little bit, but let me tell you guys what. You guys need to go out there and vote on mid-elections. That's the way that we're going to make our voice heard. Protests and everything is fine to show the numbers and we keep, show up. But go vote, go vote. It's very important. So we're downtown LA right now. Like I said, it's behind us is the district. The
and it's almost dead.
Yeah, it's dead
on a weekend.
There's nobody out here, man. The streets are empty.
People are scared to come out. You just never know. Not only that, even people who are, legal here, they're like, they just don't want the drama. They don't want to be harassed.
You find yourself like driving around, like looking.
I'm
all like being cautious too. I'm like I don't know what, I'm scared too, just to see.
Authorities are overstepping their boundaries, asking for too much. Like I had a nephew being pulled over. They want like everything. What's your social security? Your like everything. It's like, come on. You know what I'm saying? Really?
Too much.
Yeah.
Something's got to change, but let's keep pushing forward. Don't back down.
There is hope.
Yeah, there is hope. And, it's the Chicano communities came a long way, okay? Because I remember in the 90s when this was happening, there wasn't that many people out there protesting and standing up, you know what I mean? And as Chicanos, as community, we have we have made big changes. We have congressmen that are Chicanos. We have, you know, a whole lot of people. And one of our guests is the pioneer in the game. She's one of the first Chicanas in the game. Um, she's a legend, you know what I mean, to our community. And
Definitely. You guys, I want you guys to meet Flakiss. Hi,
Flakiss is in the
Flakiss.
house. Woo! Thanks for
What's
coming,
up?
Flakiss.
Thank you for having me. I'm happy to be here.
We're happy to have you, and thank you for taking the time out and coming on and telling your story.
Thanks.
So, for people who don't know who Flaky is, who are you, Flaky?
Who are you?
I'm just a regular,
Now-
like person.
Súbanse al Impala, ponme some type beats, Urbano Regional, tócame JP, pass me my 40, put the
We're not buying that.
I'm sorry, you're not.
Just a kid, from South Central. Grew up down the street. We're in downtown right now, so this is my hood right here. I grew up, simple in poverty. With a single mom and a lot of siblings. I'm the second to the youngest, and it was just. It was a rough upbringing, but, I had the big brother, the big sisters, my brother, obviously, running the streets. And I mean, I got music that, pretty much talks about my life, so like My Big Brother, that's one of the songs that, talks deeply and gives you a look at, where my heart was when I was a little kid, because he's the eldest, he's the firstborn. So
It seems like he inspired you a lot. Your big brother, right?
yeah, he was a big inspiration because I didn't have a dad in the house. So of course I had a dad. I didn't come from the Espíritu Santo.
La Virgen María.
Yeah, pero no, like my brother, he was a big, of course, he was a big inspiration because a lot of my pain came from, not having a father. So the absence of not having a male role model, male figure in the home, fell on his shoulders. So he had a lot, to carry, he had a big load to carry. And, it was rough on him, because we're all girls pretty much,
Yeah, no,
La mamá, las hermanas, and,
to
so,
look out for
so
you
it was
guys.
rough for him. Yeah. So, I look back and I'm like, it must have been tough, in LA, in the hood, like
Yeah, so
for
he's a protector. He's trying to be the provider. He's trying to make sure
of
that you
course.
guys are safe.
looking out for those
And then when we
sisters,
say
mom,
provider, like at the
himself.
time, things, when we say providing it, doing like halas, different
Of
halas on
course.
the streets. So
Of course, yeah. So he had to pull his weight, do what he did, and of
yeah.
course he got caught up, with the streets, the gangs, the drugs, all the violence and all that stuff. So, I think I was like 5 the first time he got arrested, in juvenile hall. But then, from there, he grew up penitentiaries. And so I grew up going to visit him, and I used to beg my mom, like, cause I missed him so much, like, to be like, Mom, llévame, and so she would take me, I was the only one que llevaba, cause my sisters hated the 2-3 hour lines,
Yeah.
No
I mean,
patience,
it's not,
Yeah, the process
it's
is
not fun. It's not
No.
easy, but I wanted to see him,
How was that feeling when you was little and
Yeah.
you were going to the prison? Because, when the doors close,
It was
it's
terrible.
heavy metal. Some people
Scary
can't
for
handle
them.
that. And you being 6,
Little.
5,
Yeah, real little. It was really exciting when I would get there because I couldn't wait to see him. So, and then it was really it was really sad when you had to leave because I remember he had to stay there.
Yeah.
He wasn't coming home, Yeah. Gotta wait.
Is that what in
Yeah.
so because of course we introduce you as
Yeah.
a legend, but as you guys don't, if some of you guys don't know, but she's an artist, a music artist, and she's also been on some big movies as well.
Yeah.
So what inspired you to start writing?
Well, like I said, I had a lot of, emotions, I was going through a lot. So I started writing since I was a kid, well, before I knew how to write, because when you start kindergarten, they start teaching you how to write, but you don't know how to write.
It's like writing down your feelings and you kind of just put it together.
I started writing letters to my brother in prison, right? Because I didn't want him to be lonely. So I used to write to him because nobody else would. So I started writing to him. And then when I would go visit him, he would like talk shit to me. He would be like, hey man, you got to learn how to write. Like, you don't know how to spell. And, and I was like, that fool be grateful.
Be happy I can write you.
That fool be grateful. Who else is writing to you? He was
I
like,
love it.
just you, and I was like, well, exactly, like, shit. So I did. I learned, I know how to spell very well now. Thank you.
Yeah,
that
what?
was
Maybe
hard
because
on me,
of
man.
him. Maybe because he was
And
like
that's what I'm
pressing
saying. No, yeah, like, I mean, ni se entendía, güey. Like I get his point, pero pues, I did the effort.
You were little.
I was super little, fool. Like, damn, like, the zeros with the stick, that was an 8, and like make sense of it. I gotta explain everything.
Wow,
Figure it out,
So those letters
But
turned
yeah.
into music to you?
No, pues sí, no. At first it was like poetry. I mean, it went from writing prison letters to, like, telling them how things were at home and, trying to like bring up his spirits, lift him up, like, keep my brother happy, like, so he wouldn't feel so lonely.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess little Flakiss carried a lot too, you know what I'm saying? Shit,
Yeah.
a burden. Because I used to tell my sisters, hey, write to him. They'd be like, we ain't got time. Like, I'm like, all right, I'll write to him.
What year or what age did you realize that you wanted to put your poetry and your letters into like writing and actually doing something with music?
I didn't, it was never like, I'm gonna grow up and be a rapper. I'm gonna be famous, like, nah, never like that. It was more like, like therapeutic, for me, it was more like therapy. Like it was like, I just had to write. It wasn't something like people were like, oh, like, ¿qué quieres hacer or whatever? Like, no, I felt all this stuff. So I would get paper and a pen and start writing, you know what I'm saying? I didn't have no phones or nothing back then, no computers. So it was old school, freaking, where's the notepad and the pen? And freaking start writing, penning it out and just writing my emotions. So it became like poetry. I don't know. I just started like writing and salía así, like como salía. And then my sister, one of my sisters, the one that's after me, Rosie, like, we're really close growing up because she would always like read my stuff. She'd be like, what you writing? Like, so she would read it and she'd be like, damn, like, she would cry sometimes. She'd be like, damn, that's deep, like, you're freaking talented. And I'd be like, I'm just writing, folks. Shut up,
Yeah.
So it wasn't nothing like, oh, I'm gonna be, famous or, I never, people always think that, I guess a lot of people do, right? Like they wish to be something or they do something with the intent. Not me, it was just what it was. So I was just getting by, just trying to survive the day.
Kind of just fell in your lap.
And that was just part of it, so yeah, so I just started writing, and then, obviously I grew up with hip hop, Tupac, Biggie, like all the rappers, Missy Elliott, right?
Damn, that was
all these, yeah, in the 90s, it was all freaking badass, like badass hip hop, but there was no raza out there, representing us. I didn't have a female rapper to look up to. Is what I'm trying to say. Like I did look up to all of them. I was like, they're badass, they're dope. I love the music, the culture, hip hop. So I used to rap, what was on the radio and whatever, and I used to write, and stuff. And then, all of a sudden that's where it came about, where I started like rapping, freestyling with the homeboys on the street and on the block, like. Because some of the homies used to rap, so they were dope. They were like, hey Flakiss, you can rap. I was like, let's rap, so we start freestyling, and it was fun, so we just used to do it for fun. It was just like for fun. So then that's it, like that's how that happened. That's like, and drive-bys, whatever, like I had a lot of drive-bys on my block, like sometimes multiple drive-bys a day, like, so it was like, it was a really like, it's a miracle I'm here, let's just say.
Yeah,
because a lot of people on the same block, like standing right next to me, are not here today. You know, like I saw people, you know,
Just
unfortunately, like, you know, gunned down in front of me, you know, like, so I saw people die in front of me and stuff. So it's like a war zone, homie, you know, back in the days. But yeah, so I would go home, same thing, and pen it out. I have this one poem. I bumped into it last week actually, because I was like going through my archives, Flakiss archive. I found like a couple of Univision record folders, and I was like, I got folders, like that's crazy, because ya no existe, you know. It's I think they sold it to Universal, I don't know, something, whatever. Don't quote me because I don't know, but you know, lo compraron, right, the record label. But anyways, so ya no existe, so I'm like, oh damn, that's dope. I got like classic, you know, like freaking the folders, Univision records with the Flakiss, you know, like headshots and stuff. And I bumped into a poem right there, just another drive-by, and I was like, oh shit, that took me back. I was like, damn.
So
Yeah.
bring us to
But it was good.
when you started actually rapping professionally, or how did it all become about becoming Flakiss?
My sister, the one I was talking about, like, she became a model, right? So she was a modeling, and then she did a calendar, right? Ella and others, right? And then she invited us to her calendar release party, you know. So it was a party, and we went to the club to celebrate her. And when I say we, I mean like my sisters, you know, my primos, you know. My man didn't want to go that day. He was like, oh, we ain't going, you know. And I was like, fool, that's my sister, like I'm gonna go, you know. She wants me to be there, I'm gonna support her, you know. So I guess you ain't going, you know. So I rolled up solo, you know. He was like, well, then you go. So I was like, okay, well, you know.
You're
So
like, I ain't asking permission. I'm letting
you
know
gotta
I'm
tell me
rolling
twice.
out.
Don't threaten me with a good time. So I was like, no, you know, I wanted him to go, of course, but you know, he didn't want to go. So I was like, ni modo, you know, like I'll roll up.
Yeah.
So I still rolled up. And that's the beginning of that. So when I got there, the DJ, one of the homies, he DJs still, you know, but he's a rapper too. But right there, he was DJing. He was a DJ. That's how I met him, David Rolas, the homie. Shout out to him. And then he took a friend of his, which is JP, another rapper too, and I met him there too, you know. So he just started talking to me right there at the, you know, he asked me out to dance or something, I don't know, but I didn't dance, you know, because I'm loyal, homie.
Right.
I was like, nah, I can't dance, you know. I'm like,
you were gonna say
taken
I don't
and
dance, I
everything.
boogie.
Yeah, I was like,
shit.
you single? Nah, I'm not, you know. So, you know, I keep it real and everything, no BS. So, you know, con todo respeto, but he was like sharing his story, you know. He was like with all of us, with my family, because he asked my primo, because he was my brother-in-law was dancing with my sister and everything, but my primo was the only man right there with all of us. So he asked him permission to, you know, like join us, and he gave him permission. Elvin, yeah, come, welcome. Yeah. So that's how he started talking to me, you know. He talked to all of us. He told us that he was a rapper, that he had just gotten signed to a major record label, Univision Records. And I was like, I never heard of it. You know, I mean, I've heard of Univision, you know, like todas las novelas, you know, obviously I grew up, right? Like everybody knows Univision, but I was like, I never heard of Univision Records, you know? So he was like, no, it's new, you know, and, you know, I was like, I don't know, you know, I don't know. I don't know if it's true, but,
I don't know if you're
you know, I
right
just
here.
met this guy, yeah. But he was saying that he had gotten signed, and he was going to be out soon, you know. He's a rapper, and he just told me that they were looking for a female rap artist, and his producer, his manager, like, they couldn't find a female. They've been auditioning, you know, girls, but they haven't found one, you know. They didn't like any, I guess. And I was just like, cool. And he's all like, do you rap? And I was like, yeah. And then he was like, you do? And I was like, yeah, I rap, you know, but not professional, like, you know, just like on the block, you know. And he was like, damn, you should audition, you know. And I was like, well, I don't know, you know. And long story short, I did, you know. I auditioned, and the day I went to meet his producer, that became my producer and my manager, I got signed that same day.
Did you freestyle that day, or did you already had something that you written?
Yeah, I freestyled a little rap like on a tape recorder, like I recorded it because I had to take a demo. See, so like he called his producer right there on the spot. He was like, "Hey, I found this girl, she's,
I don't know why I feel like I just want you to bust the flow for some reason. I'm just like this. I'm waiting. Huh?
So he just told me, well, roll up, So he shot me his info and he was like, bring a demo. So I was like, I got no freaking demo, but I was like, I just record something on the tape, I just freestyle something. So I took, a little verse and I got signed right there.
That's awesome. That's crazy. Like back in the day, you're able to just have your own radio, your cassette, be able to speak on it, stop, and then send it off.
Take it.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And that's how
Take it with you.
Yeah.
That was back
dope.
then.
Giving
Yeah.
demos out, like,
Nah,
Yeah.
that's how I did it. Yeah, that's what it was. So I mean, I'm sure back then too, obviously you had studio stuff, but you know way. And I was just like,
Yeah.
I got my little cassette player. Let me do my thing.
And it worked. It got you in.
Yeah.
Hey,
that's dope.
Your girl's a hustler.
And you've been one of the first
Yeah.
Chicana.
My producer manager, they took it to the record label, which they had signed his artists, and JP was already signed to Univision, so they took me, and Univision obviously loved the music, so they signed me as well. So well, actually the interesting part was that he like showed it to a couple of labels. They like, you shoot out a demo, right? So it was Universal. It was 3 record labels. They all offered me a record deal. So I had to choose and pick, I was like,
And why did
it
you go
wasn't
with
just
Univision?
Univision. Ya te dije, güey, I used to watch the novelas.
Oh,
I was so fan. I was like, hey, mi mamá no va a saber Universal Records y la fregada,
Right.
like my mom's like,
Univision,
Univision,
hija.
like, ¿qué?
Yeah.
Yeah, she was all excited. So no, pues nobody believed me at first, like him. You see how you treat people is how they're gonna treat you, homie. But
They
I
don't
wasn't
believe you
rude
either.
about it. No, but I wasn't rude about it. I was just listening and listen and don't judge. I was just like, hey, he believes he's gonna, be a rapper or whatever.
Yeah.
That he got signed to Univision Records. Sí existe, güey. Pero sí existía. He did get signed. Le fue bien, güey. And he became famous too. And anyway, so I had to choose and pick, and my producer was like, Flakiss, I got great news. Like, they're all offering you a record deal. And I was like, oh my God, that's crazy, because I mean, I was like, hopefully somebody likes it.
Yeah, that
I didn't
must
know they
have
were
been
all
the
gonna like it. He sent it
amazing
to three,
ultimate
all 3 of them.
feeling.
Yeah, all 3 of them offered me
Yeah.
a record deal. So, they all had their like, selling points, like Univision, Universal had the most well, they all had their big deal, but Univision had the radio, the TV, like these fools,
Yeah.
they're big too, like major, So I was like, I'm just gonna go with Univision, because I know it. So I just went with Univision Records. So
And you were
I
on
got
some
signed.
TV stations, right? Spanish TV stations
So
that we all know growing up.
Yeah. Oh my God, that was crazy because I didn't know that not everybody gets invited. So obviously, otra vez Diosito, like I always mention God because without God, there's nothing, homie. Like for me, my whole existence is God. You feel me? Like if you know my story, you know that I wouldn't literally exist if it wasn't for God. But I mean, like, it's been like confirmed. Like before I was born, I was threatened, like with death, like not to exist. And God, had other plans, you know what I'm saying? So mi
Big
mama, like the doctors told her she had to get an abortion, because she had an ectopic pregnancy, which is when the baby's outside the womb, homie. So the babies don't survive. Obviously, they got to be inside the womb, to survive. That's where they grow, and it's a normal pregnancy. And the babies that are not inside the womb, they can't survive. So, and not only can they not survive, they put the mom at risk too. So the mom could die as well. So you could both die, or the baby's definitely not going to survive, but the mom could die as well. So as soon as they find that out, they have to get rid of the baby. They have to, have an abortion. So that's exactly what my mom had to do. but my mom refused to do it.
Oh,
My mom was like, no, God, like mama, she was all about God too. She was like, no, like God ain't gonna let nothing happen to my baby. Like que sea lo que Dios quiera. That's what she said. Whatever God says is what it's gonna be. And the doctor was like, it don't work that way, because they're science. They're not, like spiritual. You feel me? They're all about science. And science says, the baby ain't gonna make it, homie. Like the baby's gonna die. Your life's at risk. The baby's life's at risk. Like you could both die. You got other kids. Like you gonna leave your babies without a mom. My mom's like, no, I'm gonna be fine. And my baby's gonna be fine. So, they were trying to take me out before I was even a baby. I was a fetus, like.
Look at you now.
Yeah, you just came in like with a bang, and
No, it gets crazier. So the day that my mom had the full pregnancy, she had a lot of issues, by the way, because it was high risk, like to the max since the get go. So unbelievable. It became, she made it to full, like term. So literally, I survived.
Miracle
no sé
baby.
cómo, güey. Literal. So I survived. My mom survived, and then she went to a hospital and to her last checkup, and they were like, "Oh, you're already dilating. Like, oh my God, we have to like get you into surgery immediately, like emergency, and do C-section and try to save one of you. I don't think there was not really hopes of saving both of us. They didn't know who was going to survive or if we were both going to die at the table. So, she had already been with that threat the whole pregnancy as it was, but now it was the real deal because the baby had to come out, And so they told her, like, that's it, like we got to do C-section right away. And she's like, todavía. I'm not going to do C-section. I've always had them normal, so I'm going to have it normal. And they're like, you got to sign. So they're like harassing her and the nurses. So they call the doctor and they're like, she won't, like she refuses to sign and they can't cut her, they can't rush her into surgery without her consent. Cause if you die, like you got to sign it off. Right. So, and it was high risk as it was. And so the doctor went in there, señora, like he started freaking, like telling my mom, like, tiene que firmar, like it's your life, your baby's life. And mi mamá, no firmar nada. Like, I'm going to have the baby and we'll. So but he sits right next to her on the bed and he's telling her, like, he got tired of standing. He sat down. He's like, you have to sign. He's explained to her. And then, boom, I was just born. And then my mom's like, ya nació. And he's like, I know. It was like all the bed splashed, and he got off. He took off his coat. And my mom told me the story and Ovi. And, I came out and the doctor wrapped me on his coat and he couldn't believe it. And the newspapers rolled up and he was holding me and I came out on the newspaper cover.
So
and
you were
it
famous
said,
as soon as you came out.
Yeah, Miracle Baby was born.
Yeah.
Miracle Baby was born. So,
wow.
yeah.
Wow.
So that was my birth.
Yeah.
So since the get-go, like I said, God has always like came through for me. So, it is what it is.
It seems like you're very religious. Like, you talk a lot about religion and
I wouldn't call it religious, because to me, like religion is one thing, right? Right? Like a church, right?
Yeah,
Religion, right? And certain beliefs. But to me is like a connection with God. I'm very connected with God, yes.
Yeah, it shows. We were just
So-
talking about that earlier.
Yeah.
About the whole connection with
Pero don't get me wrong. Like when I was growing up, mi papá era pastor de la iglesia cristiana, right?
Oh,
He was a pastor, homie. So, I think maybe when I was 5 or whatever, right, we stopped going to Christian church. So I was Christian because my dad made us Christian. Then my mom was like, when they broke up, she was like, that's it. We're going to Catholic church because I'm Catholic. Your dad was a Christian one. And I was like, oh my God, like I didn't know anything else. But then, so we started going to Catholic church, because of my mom, because I was a kid, so it was what I was raised with, what I knew, but it wasn't obviously, something that I chose, because we don't choose what our parents choose for us. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So now that I'm grown, I do study a lot. I do read a lot. I do my own research, my due diligence, for myself. I love reading. I've been reading since I was a little kid. I've been writing a lot since I was a little kid. I think for myself, but most of all, to me, I like truth, so that's what I base everything upon, and like I said, I stopped following, what was the norm, like vas a hacer lo que porque ellos lo hacen, tú lo vas a hacer. You know what I'm saying? Like I do what feels right because I know it's the truth. And I love the truth, like I love transparency. So if it don't make sense to me, I ain't doing it.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
So your childhood was rough, but now let's talk about the fame. You got famous overnight. What was it like? What was your experience like? Where did you go? What did you get?
Who did you see?
Yeah, Don't
I want to know about that.
Yeah,
It was
because for reals, the 90s and the 2000s, like, we had to network a different way than social media. So it was a lot different.
It was crazy. Yeah, it was real crazy. I wasn't ready for it. I was not ready for that, like I said, I'm just a normal little kid from the hood. Like I didn't even know anybody famous, didn't have anyone famous, never met anyone famous.
So how did the fame, like, where did it take you? How did you feel? Because, like we were talking about, overnight you're in sensation. Like you were traveling, people were asking you to do concerts, you know, you were doing commercials, you were even
and I was recording. I was in the midst of recording my album. And so I went to sleep and I had a dream, and then I woke up, but it was a real dream. It's called the premonition, right? Like, you live it, and it's more like a memory than a dream. Well, I can't really explain it because I don't want to confuse you. Like, ¿qué? But anyways, just know that I know that it was real. So I had a dream, right? And I dreamt my hit song. I was like, I saw everybody, like it was a sold out show at the Rock Cafe. Right. And it was a big ass show, sold out. There was like a line like around the block, and it was already sold out. And there was people like lined up outside, and I'm performing, and everybody's like singing, like the whole crowd like singing my song. They all know it. And he was like, "That's a crazy dream." And I'm like, "No, it's gonna happen. Like I already saw it, dude. Like check this out. I dreamt the song. I'm about to go record it. I got to hit up my producer because I dreamt the song. I hadn't written the song. I learned about the song in my dream, right? So I went to the studio and I told my producer, he was like tripping out. I was like, what? And I'm like, dude, this song right here, everyone's going to love it. Like we got to record it. It goes like this. This is the beat and this is the lyrics. This is how it goes, So I just started singing it. I was like, it's Friday night. We're headed for the club. My girl's by my side. Like it's Friday night. Like, and I just kept singing, and then he was like, "Oh my God, I love it, I love it, I love it. Keep going, keep going." So he did the beat. I was telling him how the beat went, and he freaking did the beat for me. And I was like, oh my God. So we did the song, we dropped the record, and then so there I finished the album. And he's like, which one do you want to be your single? And I was like, Liberate, because that's the one with the message, you got some party stuff in there, that song, that badass song that you dreamt about. And I was like, yeah, I'm like, I feel like that was a God-given song, you know what I'm saying? Because, I mean, I hadn't even thought about that song, but it came to me, right? So I was like, yeah, I think Liberate though, because it has a message, it's for the women, empowerment, like, anti-abuse and, let's smash and squash the machismo, like, for my raza, because in my culture, obviously, we want to put something out there that's never been out there. It's more of a taboo, right? Nobody talks about it. Yep. Ain't nobody, Missy Elliott was never going to talk about it, right? Because they don't deal with what we deal with, right? We got different cultural issues. Mm-hmm. So I was like, me cae a mí, like I have to do it, like somebody's got to do it, homie. Like I always dreamt to hear something like that, you know what I'm saying? To bump a song like that. So anyway, so I told them, Liberate. So the record, my first record with Univision is called Liberate, Free Yourself. And then, and he took it to the record label and told them, like, she wants this one to be her single. And the record label was like, no, we love It's Friday Night. And that one's going to be her hit single. And I was like, whatever they want. I mean, el que paga manda, that way.
Pues sí.
So I was like, all right, let's go, So these fools were like, we're gonna drop all this money, we're gonna shoot the music video, we're gonna get a Graciela Beltran, we're gonna get, the big dogs to come and support, and woo woo. And I was like, all right, let's do it. We're gonna get this club, in Hollywood, So they just went all out, and I was like, okay, so we're gonna have makeup artists, this, that, whatever, like invite your peeps, we'll get extras too, and I was like, I'm gonna invite my peeps, so pretty much the whole club was filled with other homies from the hood, I was like, let's go, fools, so everybody rolled up, my best friend, my sisters, everybody, all the homies from the block, so everybody rolled up, even JP, the guy that made it possible.
Yeah, that's dope though, because they get to see what their money went to.
Oh, you'll see him, like if you go back to and he's the one, I think he was like my valet guy or something.
In the video?
Like I pull up, and the car, and then I think it was him, and I was like, oh shit,
what an experience.
Yeah,
there's nothing like that era anymore.
Super dope. Yeah, so we did all the work. Now it was the promo, right? I had to start promoting it. They're like, okay, Flakiss, you're gonna be at Despierta America or something like that.
Yeah.
Despierta America.
Despierta America, right? Like when you wake up, you turn on Univision, right? So like Flakiss, your first promo is gonna be at Despierta America. You gotta wake up at 4 a.m. We gotta be there at 5. And I was like, damn, that's crazy. But I go to sleep like at 1, 2 in the morning, but I'll take a nap, shower at 3, bounce, get ready and go. So anyways, long story short, everything went crazy. And when I tell you, the day before I had to be, start, it was the day of my album release, and I had already TV scheduled. The first morning show started in the very top of the morning. I had another dream, right? And my brother got deported, right? He got deported into Mexico, and he was the only one born in Mexico. So, he had a big record, so they kicked him out, right? He got deported, and he had been in Mexico when I was doing all this. Entonces I had a dream like the day before the release, right? Everything ya estaba scheduled, and I had a dream, and I woke up, and I told my husband, I was like, babe, I was like crying and everything, because I had a real ugly dream, like I was watching my brother was getting chased, and there was these fools trying to kill him, right? Lo iban a matar en Mexico. And I was like, he's like, did he call you and tell you that? And I was like, no, I dreamt it, I'm telling you, like, it's happening, like, I need to get a hold of him. So I called to Mexico, and I made some family members look for him. They found him. I talked to him, and he said it was true, right? He was on the run, and he was hiding because somebody was gonna kill him, right? So they were chasing him, and I saw that, right? So I was like, I'm gonna go get you, Maybe we shouldn't talk about this story.
Why?
I don't know. I guess a little dark.
I'm intrigued.
Huh?
I'm intrigued.
Yeah, okay. So I went, es que, güey, la hice de pollero, isn't that illegal and stuff?
Oh, yeah.
You did it. I mean, back in the day, back in the day, it was, it's the truth.
You know what? So what?
Yeah.
It's the truth.
Nah, I mean, if you guys want to hear it, what do you think? Elsa?
I want to hear it.
Okay.
It's the truth of what happened.
All right. So then, I can't believe that happened. It was so like off timing, like terrible timing for me. I had all this going on, and so I called, found out it was true. So I told my husband, like, I confirmed that I gotta go get him, I gotta go because I had to save him, like, I'm not just gonna sit here and let him get taken out, like, that's my brother, And he was like, what the hell are you supposed to do, And I'm like, I'm gonna go get him, and I'm gonna bring his ass over here, like, and he was like, how you gonna do that? I said, I don't know. We're just gonna figure it out, So I called Cat Eyes, my sister, and I was like, hey, I'm gonna go get our big brother, like, you wanna roll or not? And she was like, I'll roll with you. And I'm like, all right, let's go. And then she's like, I'll take a termites freaking, like whatever, to try to bring him back, whatever. I told you we shouldn't speak.
Ah.
Anyway, so we went and we busted a mission, got my brother, and we got busted at the freaking border, right? So me quitaron my brand new car y no me duele el carro, güey. Déjate de eso. Me quitaron mi brother, you know? So they arrested him at the border, so he's not doing time again, right? By the U.S. Border Patrol, right? So they freaking got him and they freaking ICE, they freaking right on topic, huh?
Right on topic.
Crazy.
So they took my brother and they freaking they tried to charge me, and I was like, I don't care what you do, whatever. And then I remembered, I was like, oh shit, I have like the TV show, you know, like I'm supposed to be doing like big things, you know, like wait, I don't have time to about that right now, you know, like
Forgot about the
what
thing.
am I thinking, you know? But I wasn't thinking, you know, I was just like rescue mode, you know. So I just busted a mission, a gangster move, and then came back. So they held us there, they detained us, you know, obviamente, you know. So ahí nos dejaron, güey. We were like detained for, okay, who's gonna confess? I'm like, me, fool, it was me, I did it, you know. Like, what you want to do, you know? Like, you want to arrest me? What you gonna do, you know? You can't do shit. You're just gonna kick me back. Hurry up, because I got, you know, things to do, you know. And then so yeah, you know, they sure did. They were threatening with prison and all that stuff. I was like, I don't care, do whatever you want, you know. Like, I was really mad because they took my brother. So at least, you know, I saved him because lo saqué de donde estaba, güey, you know. Y luego he did like 5 years full in prison for that.
Oh, wow.
But me dolió mucho, güey, because, you know, I felt like, I don't know, it was mixed of emotions, you know, like whatever. Like, it was a loss, you know. But
The
me
loss of a
quitaron mi
mission.
carro, way, and the only reason I mentioned this is because how am I gonna get back to LA, you know? So I was like, shit. So nos dejaron a pata, way, you know. They finally, after like 6-7 hours, they let us go, right? No más cagando palo, way, you know. Like, they, you know, they should just let us go. They already did all the harm they could, you know. But no, they're like, órale, you know, like they kept us there detained, and then finally they released us. And I'm telling Kat, is like, damn, fool, like, I'm getting messages because my manager's like, Flakiss, see you at 4 a.m., you know, like, get ready. And I was like, damn, it's already 12, you know, like, it's already going to be like 1 a.m. And we don't even have a car. So Kat is called her man, you know, and he's like, I'm on my way. So he rolled up, you know, to Mexico, and he freaking souped us up. I have a song about that too.
Oh wow, it makes
You
sense.
can hear the actual story.
Yeah.
And what show were you going to be on that day?
Oh, that was the beginning of the promotion, homie. That was the first. Despierta America was the first one. That wasn't the only one. I had like all the other slots too going on, but the very first one, güey. Y no había dormido, nada, güey. So
Running
I
on
just,
no sleep.
y llorando y todo, you know, like all heartbroken, homie. So I rolled up to the house. We got there like at 2 a.m, freaking jumped in the shower, got ready, and rolled up to freaking, with a smile, to Univision. And then, yeah, fool, I didn't say nothing. And then when I get there, right, like, I remember I wanted it to be meaningful. Like, I had the song De Corazón Libérate, right? But nah, the record label wanted It's Friday Night, the party song, right? So we're promoting the party song, and then the fools right there at the TV show, they're like, TV station, they're like, Flakiss, we have, you know, these comments, and they start with negative comments. Wait, no mames, like, I really did not need that crap. And I had never been on a TV show, way, you know, like, I'm not famous, not that way. I had never done nothing. I just recorded the freaking album. Like, this is my first job, right? You could say. So I roll up, and then, you know, I'm all nice. I'm nice, right?
Yeah.
And I roll up and I'm like, hey, everyone, you know, cool and everything. Like, they don't know. I'm like heartbroken, everything I've been through. And then they start with the BS.
All the negative
They
stuff.
start with they're saying you look like you're 15 and you're smoking and, you know, drinking, and you're a bad influence for the youngsters, and I'm like, really, you're going to focus on that? Like, homie, why not just congratulate? You know, like, the raza though, like, I'm gonna say something. no todos. I've never been one to judge everybody because of one food, right? But a lot of them are like that. And I had to like deal with that, like my whole career. And it sucks because I see somebody, hustling. I'm like, que le vaya bien, güey, like,
Yeah.
God bless them, But yeah, so it started like that. And I was like, that's so messed up. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm sitting there like, how does that have anything to do with, like
what you're doing.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
where were the comments coming in from?
exactly,
Like,
right?
from
I
that
think
one?
they made them up.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's a good
Like
point.
seriously.
Yeah, because they
Sometimes
hadn't
they
even
want that
been
drama.
released.
Yeah, we've had people that done that, like made some shit up.
I
on the
think
spot.
they-
Like,
yeah.
well, who said that? You can't say shit. Well, it's
Yeah, it
Lottie,
made
lottie.
no
like,
sense.
Who said
Y luego what I told you girls earlier, like I don't want to focus on the negative,
Yeah.
like I wanna be positive, and the fools that I met in the past that were, like full of it, like hopefully they ain't right now, and I ain't gonna judge them even for yesterday because I'm like they probably changed, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like me, for example, back then you acted stupid with me, I beat your ass, right? Today, I just be like,
I'll pray for you.
like. Ojalá you don't try to get physical because you're gonna get beat down too. But I'm saying like I'm gonna be cool, like I'm not gonna try to start nothing with nobody right now. I'm like all love. You feel me? Like si me entiendes? But I'm different.
That shit.
Yeah.
Do you think you got a little more heat because you was a female?
Period.
For sure. I mean, it put it like this. I saw the fools that because they came out before me. I was the first female that Univision, the first and the only female actually in the whole project. It was a movimiento. It was a movement. And when it came out, it was called Urbano Regional. So basically, we were doing, the Chicano rap, which is, like Spanish, like I have the cumbia, the ranchera, like I have all this stuff, but I'm rapping. So it's hip hop, but it's Urbano Regional. You know what I'm saying? Because it's regional too. It's got the Mexican, we're Mexican, So it was dope. I was the only female. I was the first and the only female. So when you see like on the TV shows and stuff, that's why they're like, oh, la reina, la primera, the movimiento, whatever, like Flakiss, right? And so, it wasn't something I asked for. It's not a title I gave myself. It's like what it was. It's what it was. You feel me? Like I was the first female, and I always said like I hope there's so many after me. I always say that, in my interviews, because I always wish that, growing up,
For the
homie,
women.
like I would have freaking loved. I dreamt to see like I'd be your first, like your biggest cheer, like, hey, like you're doing it for us, like, so
Okay.
yeah, you come out and then you expect that, but you don't get that, like any way I could, So my first big like international TV show was with Don Francisco, right? And they were like, Flakiss, Univision just called and you got an invite from Don Francisco.
That's
And I
fucking
was
dope.
like,
I love those.
Yeah, I watch them all the time.
Hey, Chacal.
what do you
How
mean?
exciting!
grandma
Yeah,
did.
I
We
would
were-
have died.
I'm
Yeah.
thinking absolutely. I was like flipping out because I was like, oh my God, like I remember being little and like watching him on TV
Yeah.
toda mi vida, like up till,
Con sus chistes
then.
y
I was
todo.
like, that's crazy. Like he knows who I am. Like I didn't believe it, right?
That's
And
dope.
he's all like, yeah, he saw you on TV, obviously, like the world saw you already, but
Yeah.
he invited you and like he wants you to be a guest on his show. And I was like, no freaking way. Like that's so crazy. He's like, so what? Yes, sir. I'm like, of course. So they're like, okay, you're flying to Miami, woo woo, like, and I'm like, oh my God, I'm flying to Miami. Wait a minute. Because I had never been on an airplane before.
Wow.
Like, so remember poverty?
yeah.
like,
yeah.
hello.
Yeah.
Like I had never flown anywhere, I had never been on an airplane. This is a true story. So I had been to Mexico, like, but we drove there, right? And so I had visited Mexico, but outside of that, like I had never been anywhere outside of LA, like here, So I was like, Miami, like what? Like, damn,
Yeah.
like that was super cool. And I was like, okay, so I guess I'm going to Miami. And I remember like, I was just like tripping out because I was like, do I have to fly there? Yeah, of course you do. But I was like, right? Like, they're like, yeah, flag it's not like driving
there
distance.
faster.
And I'm like, no, I'm just saying because, I never been on an airplane, They're like, no, really? I was like, yeah, I never, So anyways, long story short, yeah, got on the plane for all them hours, and we rolled up to Miami. And when I get there, he has like these fools in suits, like with the Flakiss sign at the airport. And I was like, what the heck? I thought I was gonna Uber or taxi,
Yeah.
like they're all, waiting for me, like two fools, with suits and everything. I see
Hey, with
with the big
Flakiss.
Flakiss sign, with
Yeah.
Univision Records, Univision, whatever, because they're like drivers for them. And I was like, right here, like that's me, So they're like, okay, come on, So they got all my stuff, and they're like carrying my things, and I'm like, what the heck, like I can carry it, Like I'm not trying to be humble, pero no te dejan, Like they're like,
Yeah.
you got
You're
your
the
limo
star.
waiting for you, and I'm like, limo, like we just run a Toyota, whatever, like. Pero he's like, no, this car's for you, So I'm like, okay, so they're like opening doors for me, todo. I'm like, damn, fool, like I know how to open a door. So we rolled up to the hotel, which is like real close to the airport. And I remember it was the Mutiny Hotel, right? No. I'm lying. That was when I went to Christina's show. Hold up.
Ay, wait.
That one was Sofitel, which is like a 5-star hotel, right? Like super fancy, super elegant. And I was like, I had never been in a hotel like that either, like I had never been in a hotel period, right? So I was like, damn,
fancy.
super fancy. Yeah, no, they walked me in, and I estaba ya the PR people from Univision waiting to check me in and everything. Like, I had people waiting for me everywhere, like doing things for me, right? They're like, we're here to check you in, welcome you. I was like, damn, like super,
You're like, I want some
Star
steak and
status.
lobster.
Organized.
like superstar status. Yeah, like 5-star
Sounds good.
hotel, everything. So we get there, and they're like, oh, we got your suite ready for you. I'm like, oh, sweet, like, yeah, you're in the upper floors, you got a hell of a view, and I'm like, oh my God. So like super super fancy, they're like, okay, you got your, you got money to spend too, like they're paying you, of course, everything's covered. You can get service, anything you want, you just
Room
call
service.
anything you want, he's like, and the restaurants right here is like super todo white, todo bien elegant, super nice, I was like, I loved it. I was like,
Wow.
I just want to stay here.
No te
If I
había,
didn't have
ca-
family, but
no
I
te
had to
había
come back.
caído that you was a superstar
No,
yet.
güey.
That's crazy.
No me
With
había caído,
Univision.
todavía no me ha
Yeah.
caído, güey.
Yeah.
Nah, todavía no. Like, nunca me cayó, like,
What was the feeling? How did you feel?
like I was dreaming, fool, like, damn, like crazy. So I get up to my room, and I'm like, that's crazy. It's like beautiful, like, anyway, super super fancy. But the big deal was meeting Don Francisco. They're like, okay, so tomorrow, tomorrow we had like radio, and we had a lot of people, magazines that were gonna roll up to the lobby right there at the hotel. You're working since the morning, 7 a.m. is your first interview. Like, my manager was there, obviously, my team also rolled up, and we had everything scheduled. And then, so I'm like working the whole time, so I'm always working. And then we had the TV show, so finally, we roll up to.
Was there a live
the studio.
audience that day? Because I know
Yes,
before you got, 'cause
big
he
audience.
always had a live audience.
He has a big
Yeah.
live audience. Like, that's like the
Oh
biggest
my
audience I've
goodness.
seen on a TV show.
Wow.
Like, está lleno, güey, like,
Yeah.
there's a lot of people. So
Yeah.
it's that, like,
because
por
that was
ahí.
entertainment. Yeah, of course it's gonna be full because we didn't have a lot of entertainment back then. So
He
like
was
those
it.
talk
He-
shows,
yeah,
like,
he was it. Yeah.
He
I
was
know my
it.
abuela.
I don't know
Chacal.
anyone that
It
doesn't
stayed on
know
in
him.
our house.
Yeah.
Tu,
So
tururu.
it was,
Yeah, if you're Raza, you know who Don Francisco is.
Yeah,
If not,
yeah,
you,
for
you
sure.
probably didn't own a TV. That's
Yeah,
on you.
yeah.
That's on you.
Yeah.
Like, even poor people have TVs. I had a TV, like, I'm just saying, like, yeah. So wow, to me that was freaking crazy. They're like, hey, he wants to meet you before the show, like, and I was like, okay, So he met up with all the stars that he was gonna introduce. Yeah, me. All the stars and me,
You were
And
the
I was
star
like-
too.
Yeah, I was like,
You're so humble
I'm
though.
gonna
Like
be there
you,
with all of them, and I might be confusing. I think this was for Don Francisco Presenta, but I did Sábado Gigante too. Okay,
Okay.
because he kept me there, dude, for weeks. He was like,
Nice.
"You're invited," and I was like, "Oh my god, I'm gonna do more shows with him." They're like, "Yeah, he wants you to stay, and everything's covered, and like he's paying for it out of his pocket." Like, I was like, "Oh my god, that's so crazy!" Like, he loved you, Flakiss. I was like, "Oh my god," and I remember, we'll get into that later, but I think it was this one that I'm talking about in particular was Don Francisco Presenta. Okay, I also did Sábado Gigante though. I know you guys are familiar with that one, but this is another show that he had. Right. He also
Yeah.
had another show, and in Don Francisco presenta like stars, right? Like estrellas that that people love. So I was like, that's crazy that he wants to interview me. Like whatever, that's his choice, his show. Yeah. So I walk in the room, and then all the stars were there. That he was gonna interview. It was Alicia Machado, I think, right? Sergio Goyri.
No.
El galán de las novelas.
El galán de galanes.
Oh my
El galán de
God.
galanes.
With that brocha. He's
Oh
one
my
of them that has a
goodness.
brocha. If you guys don't know, look him up.
Yeah, just look him up.
El
But
galán.
anyway, so I was like starstruck. I'm like, oh my God, like I can't believe that I'm here with all these people, and sure enough, everybody was like, Flakiss, except for Alicia Machado. But everybody was like, Flakiss, Don Francisco was like super, super like excited and happy to see me, and like joyous, that I was there. He like congratulated me. He like greeted me. Sergio Goyri got up like a total gentleman, rushed me too. Flakiss, mucho gusto. Like everybody was super nice except for one person. I won't name her. And but everybody was like, oh, talk to us. Everybody wanted to like hear, about my story or whatever. And I was like, okay, so like, what do you want to know? So I just started talking to them, and that was it. It was like super cool, like it was really exciting. So we did the interview. Then we did the TV show. He just wanted to meet us. And then when we did the TV show, right before I walk out into the TV show, right, the producer of the show, she goes to put my mic, right? And he's like, okay, Flakiss, you're next. You're up, like you're going to go up next. He's going to call you. Te va a presentar y luego you come out, you're going to come out through this door. I'm like, okay. And then she's all like, are you nervous? And I'm like, a little bit. And then I'm like, I've never, like, I've never been on his show, right? And she's all like, oh my God, it's the biggest, it's an international TV show, right? Like they see it all over the world. Right now we checked. She's like, and there's over 2 I don't know how many million viewers right now live logged on. They're watching. And I was like, did she really have to say that?
Yeah, it makes you wait.
Get me a little nervous.
I did not. Yeah, I didn't know, right? I mean, I knew it was a big show, but I didn't cross my millions and watching right now, but she confirmed it. She said they had just, because they could see, how many viewers they have on. And she said that right now live, connected, we're over 2 some million viewers watching.
My girl by my side, let's party! Friday night, I'm feeling alright. I'm ready to get drunk. Let's do it!
After that one was like the first time that you got recognized on the streets. It was like,
Girl, when I came back to LA, right? I did my little tour right there and my promotional tour right there in Miami. I did the international TV shows, and then I came back, right? So when I came back, I'm just doing my little work, right? Pero luego I come back and I get home and I tell my suegra, shout out to Sophie's. I love her so much. She's like a mom to me, I love my mom too, because no sabes celar, güey. Te amo, mami. But my suegra, she's like a mom to me, because I mean we've been together since we were 15, so she like finished raising not just her own son but me as well. I'm like a daughter to her, obviously, And anyways, si no fuera por ella, güey, I wouldn't have been able to do what I did, because let's admit it, like, she's always been there for me and my kids, because vivíamos con ella when we were kids, me and my husband, we had to grow up to get our own place. But anyways, ella estaba cuidando I had 2 daughters, right? 2 babies, 2 and 4 when I started my career, so long story short, I come back and my daughter's already in kindergarten, one of them, the oldest one. She's in kindergarten. And when I come back, I was super excited because it was early. And I'm like, I'm going to be able to pick her up. I missed them like crazy. I cried every day, girl. I cried on the airplane on my way to Miami because I did not want to leave,
Yeah.
And I would call them every day and just cry every day.
You're living
Crying. Vivía llorando, güey. And then on TV me ves bien contenta because, I was good to put on that smile. You'll never see me broken, girl. I just lived that way, like I grew up, I was well trained. I was broken all my life. So, I was good to always look like I wasn't. So anyways, I got back and I was super happy. I was like, oh my God, and my side, I was like all happy too. She's like, ay, qué bueno que viniste. The girls miss you, and I'm like, I miss them too, like, oh my God, they're about to come out. I'm going to go pick them up. And she's like, oh, tú vas por ellas? I'm like, of course. I mean, I always do, right? Like, of course I'm going to go pick them up. So she's all like, oh, okay, está bien pues, and then she's like, can you pick up también, because her daughter had kids there. They're older, but they also went to the same elementary. So she's all, can you pick up Betty's kids too? And I'm like, of course. Yeah, of course. I'll pick them all up, So I was all excited to see my kids and my nephews. And so I get to school. And ya ves cómo se arma la bola, güey, because we're all there for our kids. Everybody wants to be the first one to get their kids, So I rolled up in my Cutlass. I called it the Flakiss mobile. You could see that one. Look it up too. I actually have it on one of my music videos. Party time. The blue
Do you
Cutlass.
still have the car?
No way.
Oh.
But yeah, I couldn't drive it. It was parked all the time because the first time I took it for a drive, I had people following me everywhere and they wanted autographs. And it's nice and everything. I'm very appreciative. I want all my fans to know that I'm very grateful for their love and their support. And cuando quieran foto, they know.
But
Cuando
it's overwhelming.
they ask me for a photo or an autograph, never gonna say no. Nothing but love right here. I ain't gonna be like that one fool that did me dirty like that.
So I was like, no.
Like that's so
What
sad.
do we say?
Yeah.
We say, fuck that fool, huh?
Fuck that fool.
I said F that fool. And that F was forget that fool. I don't curse. So anymore. Back then I couldn't say hi without saying, what's up, fool? But anyways, so what happened was, so you could check out that car. I rolled up in the Flakiss, but that was my car, way. No manches, like, I was going to roll up walking. I mean, it's around the corner, but it ain't in the corner. You know what I'm saying? If it was in the corner, I walk. But anyway, so I rolled up, in my cut and I parked, but it's a little, it's nice. You'll see it, it's got like the blue, it's all white interior. Like it's popping, right? It's got like the rims and everything.
13s or 14s?
Like 20s. I don't know.
Oh, okay.
And then, so, and it's lifted. It got that motor boom,
Okay.
it's like freaking loud. Like I had it laced up, right? Obviously. Cause, I always
You
love the
was lucky.
Cutlass, I love me a Cutlass, but I was like, damn, it's my first cut. So I was like, I'm get it all nice for me, And so it was a Flakiss mobile. I had like the Flakiss everywhere, like on the plates, on the seats, So I was bumping. I rolled up. Le bajé, güey, because I didn't want to attract attention, pero you can't help it, right? In a car like that. So I parked and I jumped out and I was like, damn, no la pensé bien, güey, no la pensé bien. So I should have walked. Or I don't know, because no, it ain't that. The kids ain't gonna want to walk. Everybody's spoiled nowadays. I'm like, where's your car? Call an Uber. So I just get off low key and I'm like, I'm just here to pick up my kid. And the kindergartners salen primero way, right? So you line up in a different place and they come out a few minutes early because they're little, right? So they don't get bombarded by the other kids. But I had to wait for the other kids too, remember? I had other kids I had to pick up. So I picked up my baby. Well, she's coming out and then I just hear, it started with one person. Like as soon as I walked up, I just heard like, it's Flakiss, See, it's Flakiss. And then another Flakiss over here and a Flakiss over there. And I'm like hearing my name everywhere. And I'm like, how do they know me, right? Like, and I no me había cruzado por la mente, güey, que I was famous. Because again, never in my life I imagined that, right? So I'm just like, no me caía el 20, güey, like how they knew my name. But I was, I'm not sitting there like, oh yes, way, like I just freaking did international TV shows. Everybody saw me in la tele, way. You're famous. No way, no, nada. I'm just like, shoot, they know me and I don't know why, like could be an enemy, like, yo no sé, way, and they're like, it's Flakiss. And then I start hearing excitement. See, it's Flakiss, way. And it starts getting louder and louder. And then Flakiss, where? And then next thing you know, everybody's Flakiss. They start screaming at me because they want me to turn around because I'm like low key, right? Like I'm like, I wasn't even looking up, not that way. I wasn't trying to like, I'm just trying to get my baby. Finally, I went in the kids and I'm like, hey, Diddy, you know, I call my baby, and then the teacher, you know, siempre needs to make sure you're the mom, right? Oh, hey, here you go, your kid. Y me la dan, and everybody's like, Flakiss, eres tú, Flakiss? And I'm like, sí, hi, you know, and then everybody's like, un autógrafo, you know, and I'm like, okay, you know, and I'm like giving autographs, and then they're like, una foto, Flakiss, and then everybody starts asking. Once one asked, everybody asked, so they didn't line up either. It wasn't like organized. It was like all around me, you know, surrounding me and my baby. I had my little baby, remember that? So I was like, oh, I'm just here to pick up my baby. Like, you know, I gotta go. And I'm like walking, and I'm like, I gotta wait for the other kids todavía. So estoy saludando a la gente. Tampoco no seas mamona, right? So I'm like, hey, what's up? You know, like, mucho gusto, you know, but back up, you know, and not everybody's like in your face. And I'm like, hey, you know. And my baby's all like, Mom, I want to go home, you know. My baby's like crying because she's like little, and all the people are everywhere on top of us, you know. And so, I mean, I don't want to say it was rude, but it was a little rude, you know, like, because, you know, like, también hay que ver que tiene bebé, you know, like, ¿sí me entiendes? Like, si soy sola,
overwhelming
I get it.
for the baby.
You're in your mom mood
It was
right
getting
there.
a little frustrating. So. Again, I showed nothing but love then and still today, but there's times and moments que sí, güey, que te cala, que you're like, damn, you know, like, you wish it not, you know what I'm saying? Like, can they just turn around and forget I'm here, you know what I'm saying? Y no pasó, güey. So then finally the kids came out, you know, and I was like, hey, let's go, you know, and all the kids are like, what's going on, Tia Flakiss? And I'm like, as you can see, I don't gotta explain, right? Like, lo que se ve no se pregunta. Everybody's like, Flakiss, can I get an autograph? We love you. We saw you in Don Francisco, right? Everybody sees that show. It happens. It wasn't just me. It was everybody too.
Yeah.
And so I was like, oh yeah. Oh my God, about your brother. And so everybody starts talking about like, lo que oyeron, güey. Yeah. I feel so bad for you. I also have a brother in prison. And so everybody's like talking, you know, like relating, and, you know, like, it was heart to heart, right? So I'm like, oh yeah, all right. Yeah. And they're like, autographs. So I started signing autographs, girl. But after like 2 hours, it got a little tiring, you know. I'm like, I really gotta go, guys. You know, like, the kids are crying. They're like starving. They're ready to go home. You know, they don't want this.
Yeah.
And y ya, güey, I'm like remember, I was two-stepping into my car while giving autographs. I'm like, come on, kids, you know. It took us almost 2 hours. Yeah, and I parked right in front. And I'm like, dude, my car, you know, like, ahí está, güey. It's so close. It's like right there, but I can't make it. So close and yet so far away,
Turn on
right?
the car. Jump in.
So then, y luego, güey, just when it was about to die out, right? All these fools are passing by, and they're like, what's going on? What's going on? You know, because they can hear the crowd. Everybody's like, hey, like, they're cheering. They're not just standing there waiting quietly for an autograph. People are like, behind the other people screaming, hey, Flakiss, acá, you know, like, everybody wants an autograph. So I'm like, okay. I'm like, yeah, you know. So they're working their way in there to get an autograph because everybody's got to smash in. I had literally a crowd around me. Like, we couldn't breathe, girl. And then the cars start passing by. Y los morenos, you know, our other brothers, homie, ellos no saben español, güey, so they don't even know who the hell I am. But they start jumping out cars too. And they're like, hey, I heard you're famous. Who are you? And I'm like, dude, I don't need extra autographs to give out and extra people to join the crowd, you know? But I was like, I'm not, you know? And they're like, nah, they're saying you're famous. Hey, can you give me an autograph? And I was like,
you don't even know me.
Quién soy, güey. Yeah. So it was odd, but again, you know, it was crazy, girl. We finally got to the car, and I was like, guys, I really gotta go. I'm so sorry, you know, like, I try to give as many autographs. I'm like, I gotta go, the kids, you know, like, sorry, love you guys. Yeah. Rolled out. Bye. And I get to the house, and my sister's all like, ¿Qué pasó? Like, took you forever, which should take 2 minutes. Like, ¿dónde estabas? You know, I was gone for hours, and I was like, and all the kids were like, you should have seen, they were smashing us. They wouldn't let us get in the car. And then, so all the kids are crying and complaining about it. So then my suegras are like, no, mija, you're too famous. You can't be out in the streets no more. And you definitely can't pick up the kids again. And I'm like, as much as it breaks my heart, you're right. Because I'm not going to put the kids through that again. But it was a lot. It was a lot on me too. Because si me la pisan o algo, if somebody gets hurt, somebody's gonna get hurt. You know what I'm saying? Like tampoco, like I appreciate ya, but you gotta
Pero
be
no,
careful too,
sí,
So
sí.
I'm like, estaba bien difícil.
So do you think fame was a curse? Like,
It could be a blessing, but sometimes it could feel otherwise. Yeah.
because your whole life changes, right? I mean, it's like you go from being here one day, just being Flakiss, to being in Don Francisco, to coming to, and now everybody knows you, everybody. So it's kind of you lose a lot of things, but you gain a lot of things.
Yeah, no, definitely it was, bitter and sweet. It was both. Like I said, I was very grateful. I've always been grateful. I'm always grateful for, the bad and the good. You feel me? Because de las dos cosas se aprende and you gain. You feel me? So it depends how you take it. I always am grateful, So let's not ever forget that. I'm just saying, like, it was very difficult for me. In my case, I was a mom. I was a teenage mom, so I already had 2 babies, which was also a blessing if you think about it, because I couldn't have no kids during my career. I was like super busy, and like
But to
I
balance
just couldn't.
both, right?
But yeah, exactly. So I was grateful that I already had kids, because I'm like, oh well, I got that part out of the way. Like, thank God for teenage motherhood. Like, which could also have been like, damn, but it was a blessing too. When you think about it, like everything in my life was a blessing. You feel me? Things happen exactly how they were meant to happen. I probably wouldn't be a mom if I didn't have my kids young. You feel me? Because of my career, because your career becomes your everything, homie. Like, it takes over your life. You feel me? And people don't understand that. They don't see that because they don't live it. Unless you've lived it, then you could speak on it. But other than that, don't ever think that it's been a easy walk in the park for me, especially with 2 babies. You know what I'm saying? And a husband. Because, oh my God, that's a whole different story. You feel me? Like, think about it. I was the only female in the movement. So I'm over here working with all these fools, all males, I'm traveling, I'm working, and I'm always collabing and, around, all these people, but I'm the only female. You feel me?
You actually collaborated with another legend, which is Art Labo.
Oh my God.
Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah. So, okay. So I was off on tour, and then I got this phone call. Flakiss, we wanna interview you at a radio station. And I was like, oh, of course, where you guys at, and they were like, oh, we're in Hollywood, LA. And I was like, oh, perfect. I'm not there right now, but I live there. When I get back home, I'm a go. I'll go down there, you guys can get your interview. They're like, oh, thank you so much. We love you. And, they call and request your music all the time. And I was like, okay, cool, So when I came back to LA, I went. It was the radio station Coco Loco. It was a 94.3 FM, right? That's the radio station. Coco 94. And then so I rolled up and I did the interview, and they're bumping oldies. So I was like, damn, you guys are jamming, And he's like, oh, you like oldies? The guy interviewing me, he was like, you like oldies? And I'm like oldies. I love oldies. Like, I grew up with all that shit. Like my big brother used to have his oldies tapes, like oldies but goodies dedicated to you, all them, right? I'm like, hell yeah. Like my sisters, because I have big siblings, older siblings. So, when my brother used to get locked up, which was often, he was always away on vacation, and then he'd come out like for sometimes a few days and back in for years, So when he was off, I would keep his stuff, because remember, I was like his protector, So I was like, yo le cuido sus cosas, so they don't get lost or nothing. But I used to bump his music, right? So it was like all oldies and stuff, and some rap too, but mostly oldies, like he was into oldies. And my big sisters, we all shared a room, We only had one room for all of us. So my older sisters used to bump Art Labo, like KRLA, 1110 KRLA, I think, right? If I'm correct. And they used to bump the radio to go to sleep. So I used to hear the dedications, and Art Labo growing up, like I was a little ass kid, and I remember that. And so I'm like, hell yeah. Like, of course I know all these. And then, so this was like, oh, you don't know? And I'm like, what? And he's, right here, this radio station is owned by Art Labo. And I'm like, nah. Like, he's like, you know Art Labo, right? I'm like, yeah, I just told you. I freaking, of course. Who doesn't know Art Labo? If you know oldies, you know Art Labo. Art Labo is oldies, And then he was like, yeah, this is his station. And I was like, that's crazy, you know, like that I'm here, you know, like in his radio station. So I thought it was like such a big deal, which it is, but I thought it was such a big deal. I was like, oh my God, I cannot believe it, you know? And then he's all like, have you met him? I'm like, obviously never. And he's such a star. Like, no. And then he's all like, I think he's here right now. Like, let me go check. And I'm like, that'd be way too much of a coincidence. Of course he's not there because he does the night show. Right. And it was early. It was in the morning. So he went and he's like, he happens to be here. He wants to meet you. He's all excited, you know? And I'm like, oh my God, like, no way. Like, he knows who I am, you know? So he comes out and he's singing one of my songs.
Oh, wow.
He comes out singing one of my songs.
That's
He's
dope.
like, it's party time. And then I'm like, oh shit, no way, you know? Like he's one of the songs that they highly requested was Party Time. So he was singing that song.
Wow, how
Meaning
cool.
he'd be bumping there, right? So he knows my songs. So he came out singing one of my songs. I'm like blown away. I'm like, no way. You know, and I'm like, oh my God, art. And then, you know, so he's like, Flakiss, you know, he's like all excited and I'm excited. So we were both really excited and he hugged me and everything. And I was like, oh my God, like, it's such an honor to meet you, you know? And like, I started telling him, you know, like, I love you, you know, like, you're awesome. And he was just like, no, I love you, you know? And so we start talking and todo. And then he just told me, you know, like, oh, he was with his producer, the producer of the radio station, Ricky. I love Ricky too. So Ricky was like, yeah. So they're talking and then he's all like, Flakiss. I'm like, what's up? And he's all like, I love you. He's like, and you cannot say no. He's like, I want you for the morning show. And I was like another interview or what? You know, like otra vez? And he's all like, no. He's like, I want you to be the host of the morning show. And I'm like thinking to myself, like, you already have a host, you know, the guy that just interviewed me, right?
Oh, you
So-
knocked off his job.
Right?
Got him fired.
I'm in the morning show right now. Ain't I in the morning show right now? Like, and I'm like, no, it's okay. You know, like, I don't know if you know this, but I'm a rapper. I'm like, I rap, you know, like I already have like, you know, a career and I'm like always traveling. Like I just got back as a matter of fact, cause you know, I couldn't come sooner cause I was out and about, you know, traveling, you know, and I'm always off. Like they just call me and, you know, I have an airplane to catch, you know, and he was like, yeah, I know. He's like, I understand that. He's like, I don't care. He's like, I want you for the morning show. He's like, you can host. He's like, you can have your own morning show. He's like, and you can leave and do your concerts. And if you need to travel, you can travel and whatever you need to do, you can do. He's like, I'm going to be flexible with you. You could do whatever you want. I said, damn, I ain't never been hired like that. And I was like, damn. He's like, what do you say? Your own morning show, your radio show. And I was like, damn, you know, like I was just like, how do you say no to a legend, you know, to Art Lobo,
Yeah.
no manches. And I was like, damn, you're making it difficult. Like, I don't even know how to do radio. I kept giving him excuses and he was all like, it's all right. He's like, we're going to have the producer of the show produce everything, run the board, do everything for you, take the calls, everything. You're just the host. He's like, you just show up.
And that's how you became the part of the family.
I said yes. So after that, it was, they changed the morning show to its name. It was the Coco Loco Morning Show con Flakiss.
Oh,
okay.
So yeah, so I feel bad for the guy. You know, he was still there. He didn't get fired. Okay, let's
Okay.
Let's get
Make
that
that-
up right.
Let's put that
let's
on
not
the
say I
record.
put him out of a job. I did not. I didn't want to even take the job because I felt for the guy. Remember, dude, I'm all fairness and nothing but love. I'm not
Homie
trying to take
still had a
nobody's
job.
job. No, he still had a job. And I was like, dude, I'm going to treat him with all the love and respect. You know, you're still running the
don't be
show.
mad at me.
Pero no way. No, so he said, you're the boss. You know, he's going to be working for you. You know, you tell him what to do, whatever. And I was like, don't say it in front of him, you know? Make the guy feel worse, right? So I feel bad. But anyways, long story short, the guy kept his job, but he was still doing the thing. I'm sure they didn't cut his pay or nothing, you know, but unbelievable. The love with this guy, like, Arlebo, I love you forever. But
Yeah, rest in peace, our Lobo.
Art LeBeau, forever.
You took a step back from all the fame because it was a lot, right, for you balancing that with being a mom and traveling.
It wasn't a lot for me. Like, I was good with it, like, I'm good with anything they throw at me, homie. Like,
Yeah.
Yo puedo con todo y con lo que sea. But it was a lot for my family. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like, remember that I've never been single, So since I was a kid, I was already, with somebody, sharing my life with somebody. So he did mind, He mined a lot. And and if you look at it, obviously you understand the guy,
Yeah.
Pobrecito, like we can't even go out to a restaurant. We can't even go to hit the swap meet like we used to get some cakes. We can't like do nothing regular because everybody wants an autograph. Everybody wants a picture. It was, for him, it was like more like annoying. I was grateful, but I did understand him, because if I put myself in his shoes, I'd probably be annoyed too. Like if I'm with my man and everybody wants to take a picture with him, we can't walk anywhere because everybody rushes him. And I'm like over here, like, what the heck, like,
Yeah.
like we just came to, like,
Eat.
vamos a comer or no?
Yeah.
Like I need my new pair of shoes. Can we do it or not? You know what I'm saying? Like, even like in the car, I decked it out loud. I dropped, I don't know how much on it to fix it. And then on our first cruise, era para parquearlo y taparlo, way, so nobody will freaking see it again. You feel me? Like, that's literally what happened to that car.
Oh.
And like, it was a lot, you know what I'm saying? Because I was still in South Central, remember that. Like, this girl wasn't famous and in Beverly Hills, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
Where everybody's probably rich and got money and is famous, or you get what I'm saying? Or, right, important people around there, it's not a big deal, right? Like, I'm hood famous, you feel me? I'm like, I'm hood living, homie, you feel me? I'm over here.
So you did it for your family mostly.
So it was definitely a decision that, that was not made like strictly by me, but approved by me, like it got to the point. Yeah, it got to the point, I guess I have to say it was my decision, obviously, because it had to be, but it got to the point where I had to make that decision. Do I, keep my family, my public family, right? My fans, because son mi familia, I love you guys, but, or do I keep my family, my kids and my husband, because somebody's fed up over here, you know what I'm saying? And, I either go back to normal, right? You got to level it out, because remember that you attract what you are too, So I was around nothing but famous people and, and important people and successful people, right? And te quita, güey, te saca, like I'm not around my people, you feel me? So it's kind of like, it's
the aura.
It's not a balance. There, you got to find a balance, but it's a complicated one, for me. You feel me? Because it was my job, so I had to, go out and be famous. I had to go out and, play my part. But then I had to come over here and take off my famous hat, and hide myself in the hood. Pretty much, that's what it came down to. So that my kids would live a normal life, so my husband wouldn't be bothered. I had a freaking roll incognito so that they can live normal, and me estaba escondiendo, güey, so it did get to that point, so I mean, I don't know how people will look at it, right? But like today, I can walk the street, and it's like cool, like I walk the street and I don't get bombarded like I used to. I don't get chased, like, and I appreciate that, but I'm saying too, like, it's messed up, you know what I'm saying? That I had to do that, you know what I'm saying? Because I also feel like the people might feel like, where the hell she go, right?
But you went away.
See, because, so what happened was, check this out. So I told you I had 2 daughters, right? Before I started my career. And then when I was working at Art LeBeau, I was juggling my music career and my radio show, right? So now I have 2 careers. I'm doing radio and I'm doing music. I'm doing both. And then I got pregnant. So I had my son. Yay, had the boy. So I had my son, but obviously when I was pregnant, no way, I didn't want to have to wake up at 4 a.m, you know what I'm saying? Like, and go do the morning show, because remember too, back it up, that my babies were little when I started my career, and I was traveling and I wasn't really able to be there 24/7. Not that any parent is working parents, like us, low income people work all the time. You feel me? So not to take anything away from regular people, because I'm a regular person. I had a job too before this, but I'm just saying I had a 9 to 5, and let's be honest, you clock out and you go home. Now I'm like Flakiss 24/7 way, like I'm everywhere. You feel me? And wherever I'm at, I'm working. Because if a fan asks you for an autograph, that's work, homie. Yeah. You feel me? Like you got to take from your family, step away from the table you're at, or you feel me? Like stop the car you're driving and, show some love, but it's work. You get what I'm saying? So no, yeah. So it got to the point again where I was pregnant and I was like, fool, no se va a poder, way, because I didn't plan to get pregnant. Let's say this is a miracle and a blessing, my son, because he's the biggest gift next to my daughters. My kids are my world, first of all. If you know me, you know how much I love my kids. And my kids know it too, because of course they know it. Trust me. But I super adore my son, and I would do it all again, just to have my son the way I did, because my dream was just like people dream. I told you I never dreamt to be famous, but I did dream to be able to take care of my kids like all day, every day. That I did dream. And I dreamt it so much. I always used to ask God, I want to do that. You know what I'm saying? But I can't do it with my career. That was not a possibility. And realistically, I could never do that, while being famous Flakiss at home mom. Make sense? Nunca se pudo, way, and I used to juggle it though. Trust me, I was at the principal's, homie. I was at the field trips. Ask my daughters, toda famous, way, toda blinged out. What's up? I roll up from the studio, drop a track and roll to the elementary to freaking, I'm here, I'd volunteer, I do everything, for my kids. You feel me? Famous didn't stop me from being an, always their parent, but cuando se podía, way, because if I was traveling, you feel me? No, and mama ain't gonna be here for Easter or none of that. You know what I'm saying? She's over there. You know what I'm saying?
So you went out in for some time.
Yeah. So I hid. I literally hid. It was I can't put it any other way. Long? So when I got pregnant with my son, I decided to quit on art, and he kept offering me more and more money. But I used to quit on him all the time because it was hard juggling 2 careers. I told you girls, I used to do nightclubs, for example, right? Or travel, and there's different hours, so I'd come home and I have to reset, and I still had to freaking do the morning show. I mean, it was really tough. I don't think anyone really, really caps, capta lo que yo viví. Yeah, way, I would leave the nightclub if I perform at a club, because it's a gig on me, you get paid really good money, and it's my job, if they hire me, I'm going to show up. I mean, I want that money, right? So, and I leave when I leave, 2, 3 in the morning, and then I got to still be up at 4, shower, and sometimes, homie, most of the times I used to hit the LA Fitness right there on Hollywood. I used to roll up early, workout, shower, and then hit without sleeping. Wow. And hit the freaking morning show, and then go home, take a nap, freaking, and if I had a TV show or whatever I had to do or travel, get ready and bounce again. Lucky to see my kids, when I could. You feel me? So it was like that for a few years, and then after that, like I said, I quit on art all the time. First of all, I didn't even want the job and I don't want to sound ungrateful. I mean, I would have died for the job if I had nothing else, but I had something really big going on, huge, that was taking over my whole life. And, it was just too much. I kept telling him I couldn't, but he didn't take a no. He said, I'm not going to take a no. And he didn't. That man, he wanted it. He got it. And I love him for that. So I did the morning show, right? Because I just can't say no to Art LeBeau. So when I quit on him all the time, girl, every other month. All right, so I'm taking, this is it. Love you. See you at the next concert. Pero ya no, I'm not going to be back tomorrow. Flakiss, more money. I'll give you more money. I'm like, it's not the money. All right, I'll give you this. Okay, but okay, I'll see you tomorrow.
So you took a big break, and Hollywood came a calling. also by David Ayer.
Yeah. So, like I said, I had my baby boy and I had been hiding my whole pregnancy. And I was, nursing him. I was doing the mom thing and staying at home. And I was so happy to do it. And then, yeah, I wasn't going to be famous more, remember? So, and
Yeah,
just
you
when
were
I
done.
thought I was out, they pulled me back in. I got the call from David Ayer, he wanted me for his next big film,
And tell us who David Ayer, for the people who don't know who David Ayer is.
David Ayer is a really big Hollywood writer and producer. He did Training Day,
That's dope.
Fast and the Furious, I think. He did really big films. Like go look him up. He's dope. He's got a lot of big films, but one of them is End of Watch.
Yes.
So
And End of Watch is what you were on.
that's what he was looking for me for. He was actually looking for me.
Damn.
So remember, I was hiding. They couldn't find me.
Yeah, you're big. You're all over.
You did
Yeah,
good.
I was hiding. I did really good. I was hiding. I wasn't on social media. I didn't have a Facebook, nothing. Like, I was out. Like, deuces, everybody.
You're
Like,
doing
I was
the mom
done.
thing. You're doing the mom thing.
Yeah, I was doing the mom thing, and always, to the best of my ability. Like I said, we have our limitations as artists, and that's something that I did struggle with because I love being a mom so much, and my kids are my number one. But again, people work all the time too, so I just don't like the fact that some people, because I've heard this, like, I won't say who has told me this, but a lot of people have told me, like, like, that's messed up, that you would like work so much, instead of be with your kids. And I'm like, everybody works, unless you're rich, you don't have to work, right? But even before then, I was working, I was going full time to college and working, you feel me? So I mean, again, it's called hustling, and working. It is what it is, And my mom, I spoke about my mom earlier, she worked, like 3 times at a job sometimes, and I wouldn't hardly see her either, you know what I'm saying? Like, I used to be home alone sometimes. So this is what I'm saying. But I love and adore my mom, and I understand why she did it. I mean, if it wasn't for her working her ass off, we wouldn't have had food or a roof over our head, So let's be grateful, right?
Yeah.
For hardworking moms like us,
Yes.
Yes,
Sure.
definitely.
But yeah, so anyways, so I was hiding, and I wasn't making any money, like I was, because I was hiding. So that's what my husband wanted. We were happy as a family, to have me at home. The kids were super happy. The girls were like, oh my God, we have our mom like 24/7, right? So I started working on an album. It was called 24/7 when I was pregnant, but I didn't know I was pregnant. So when I was going to release the album, that's when I found out I was pregnant, because I couldn't go on tour. I got sick, right? And that's when I quit the radio show. And then I canceled the tour, and I decided to stay at home. That was when I came up with the decision of staying home. And then after I had my son, David Ayer got a hold of me, and he wanted me to go in for the audition. I thought at first, like, the only thing that crossed my head was like, BS, like, David Ayer, yeah, right. You know what I'm saying? Like, no, like no. Vin Diesel, Denzel Washington. I'm thinking like, not Flakiss, right? Like, he didn't call Flakiss, but he did. I didn't. I thought at first, a lo mejor es Ashton Kutcher, and it's like, I'm gonna be punked, right? Me quieren avergonzar, güey. Like, that's what they do. But I went to the audition anyways. I was like, I'm just gonna go for fun, let's see what's up, let's see what's happening. Let's go have a good laugh. And I went to the audition, and yeah, it was real. It was actually legit. Yeah, I met David Ayer. When I met David Ayer, he's amazing, by the way. Like, I'm a big fan of his work. So when I met him, I like bowed to him. I was like, hey, you're the shit, and he was like, no, he like bowed back to me. I'm like, this way, like, que no, yo no, güey. And I was like, dude, you're like amazing, like your work and everything. He's all like, you're amazing. And he just started like, complimenting me and telling me about my work. And I was like, you know who I am? Like, he's like, of course, Flakiss. He's like, yeah. He's like, I've been looking for you, you know? He's like, first of all, his first question was, where the hell you been? He's like, you were everywhere. Cause I was like everywhere, like on the newspapers, magazines. Like I was driving and I saw me on the billboards and the freeways. I'm like, my God, they have me everywhere. Like it was crazy, you know? Every channel, you know, like every TV show, like I was everywhere. Radio, you know, like TV, todo. And he was like, you were everywhere. He's like, oh my God. He's like, I miss you. He's like, I haven't seen you. Where you been? And so that was his first question. And I just started laughing because I was like, hiding. I was like, I gave up being famous. Like, I didn't want to be famous no more, you know? I was like, never mind. And he's like, yeah. He's like, we missed you, you know? He's like, you need to come back. And I was like, well, you know, I'm here, you know, let's see what's up. So I auditioned and then he just told me like, I told him, cause when I read the script, I saw a lot of similarities, you know, I was like, damn, you know, like she's from my barrio, you know, she's from South Central, like, you know, it all sounded like a lot like, you know, I know my hood, right? Like it sounds like it. And I was like, dude, it sounds a lot like, you know, like my life. And he's all like, well, I told you I'm a big fan. He's like, I saw you, you know, he's like, I heard your stories. He's like, and it inspired me to write the role of Lala. He's like, I wrote that role for you.
Wow,
he's like, that's why I've been looking for you. And I was like, oh my God, that's crazy. I'm like, nah, that's, you know, so and he's cool. Like, yeah. And I was like, oh my God. So all the casting directors were there. He was there because he wanted to see me in person. And I auditioned and he was like, so you want it? And I was like, he asked me, so you want it? And I was like, you want to do it? And I was like, yeah, I'll do it. And then he's all like, because it's for you. He's like, it's your role. He's like, you got it. Dope. And then everybody started, and it was my first Hollywood audition ever, right? So everybody started looking at me, all the casting directors, everybody in the room, because there was a lot of people in the room. Everybody started looking at each other and like, what? Like, and so I just felt awkward and I was like, what's going on? You know, they're looking at David Ayer and looking at me and each other. And I was like, ¿qué? What did I miss? And then they were like, you don't understand, you know? And this big casting director, she was like, you don't understand, Flakiss. Like, this is not how it goes down. She's like, I've been doing this. This is like, you know, my whole life. She's like, and this has never, ever, ever in the ever of history happened. He's like, first of all, you know, we're supposed to discuss, he's looking at David Ayer, we're supposed to review all the casting clips, you know, all the, you know, actors and, you know, see everybody. And then we, you know, come up with a decision. She's like, we got to do all this process. It's a big process. She's like, it usually takes about 2 weeks and then we'll get a hold of the person. We make a decision and then we let you know if you get the role or not. This doesn't happen. And I was like, oh my God, you know, like,
what happened?
What the heck? I'm not the pro here. And then David Ayer was like, he's like, that's true. And then I'm like, what the hell? You were just going to let me go home, you know, and like freaking be nervous for 2 weeks. And he was all laughing. He's all like, nah, he's like, it's for you. I told you I wrote it for you. And I was like, okay. So I'm like, thank you. And then, Maurice Comte was there, the homie. That's Big Evil in the movie. Oh, yeah. So he was right there. We auditioned. We did the part of, I think, the car scene together, and we auditioned. And then he was just like tripping out, you know, because he's like, what the hell? Like, I've never gotten a role like that either, you know? And he told me he had been acting for like 15 years.
Oh, wow.
Before he got, and that this was his biggest role ever.
Wow.
And then I was like, oh my God. I'm like, so I'm going to be like his right hand or something, like, you know, right? Like the side jefa, you know? And he was like, no, he's going to be the side. He's like, you're the big dog. He's like, you're the main villain in this movie.
Well, that's
and
what's
then
up.
I was like, oh,
in the watch, right?
He flipped it.
In the watch.
So he flipped it, and Lala is the boss of the movie, like the main villain, the Denzel Washington of the movie. Yeah. So I was like, oh my God, no way. So I was just tripping out. I just couldn't believe it. Like everything was just like so crazy. And of course I couldn't say no. So
That's dope.
Well, big shout
So
outs
it's
to
okay.
David Ayer, you know, for believing in a Chicana, and you know, obviously he gave you a big role. You know, it's one of his hit movies. You know what I mean?
it's a
Yeah,
really
and you
big
did so
film.
great in the movie. You know what I mean, with everybody in there.
Yeah, he's an amazing
Dominique, wasn't
director.
Dominique in that
Dominique.
also?
Dominique came out too.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's
Big
the
shout out
homegirl.
to
Yeah, I saw
Dominique.
her right before I went in the audition. That's where I saw her. I hadn't seen her for a few years because I met her at the studio when I was recording with Fingers. And they like shared like office right there or something. They had their own studio, but that's where I met her. And I hadn't seen her for years. And I saw her right before I went in. Like I saw her and I was like, "Hey, you're right here for the role." And she was like, "Yeah." She was there to audition too for Lala.
Oh, yeah,
And then
she's dope.
yeah, and I remember like when we started the what did we do, the table reading, right? The first time we met up for the table reading, I was so happy that she got a part, you know, because you know she was gonna be in the film and I knew her, so I was so happy that she was gonna be in it too. But when we were at the table reading, the people right there, the casting people were like, "So you're the famous Flakiss, huh?" And I was like, "I'm just Flakiss." And then they were like, "No, we've been hearing about you. You know who came to audition for your role?"
Have some respect, Lala. Don't light up in front of us.
Once you take a hit, mija, it'll chew you out. It'll be like back in the days. Remember?
No, I don't remember shit. I don't know what the fuck you're talking about. I said put it out.
You know you want this, pig.
I wouldn't fucking touch that if you were the last bitch on earth.
Fuck you.
No, fuck you. Why don't you take a seat? You look in the mirror, you're just a
Lock it
common
up,
fucking
Roscoe.
gangster bitch like all the rest. Why don't you sit your ass down?
Why don't you do what the fuck they tell you, puppet?
Want me to make you?
Lock it up, partner. You know what? I'll fucking sit down now.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
So, Mr. Big Evil, why do they call you Big Evil?
Because I was big.
And I was like, "Who?" And they're like, "Big actresses." And I was like, "Oh yeah."
Oh,
And
well.
they're like, "Yeah." They told me America Ferrera. She was also in the film
Oh
too, though.
wow.
She was also
Yeah, she was.
she was also in the film. She was one of the cops. So but she wanted the Lala role. She went in to audition for the Lala role, and then also they said, you know, Vin Diesel's girlfriend in the Fast and the Furious, Michelle, I think. her
Uh-huh.
name.
Oh, yeah.
She went in. This is what they told me. Yeah, they were like, this one. They're like big names. Like they came they wanted the Lala role, you know. But you got it.
So Flakiss, what would you want your legacy to be?
Whatever you guys want it to be.
It's the impression that you left, right?
Huh?
Like all the good things that you've done and everything.
I feel like obviously, you know, the good things, I don't think I've ever done anything like bad. So and what I do, that's my legacy, you know, like I just do good, like wish good on others, and you know, all the blessings that I receive, you know, when they ask me why, I'd like to say it's because it's what you deserve. Everyone gets what cosechas lo que siembras.
Yeah.
Así.
All right.
Let's do this.
Well,
Rolling Culture Quiz in the house.
Rolling Culture Queen.
We out. Stay
It's your girl,
tuned.
Flakiss.
Thank you, Flakiss. Don't forget to follow Chingas on Instagram
Chingas numbing cream.
for all your pains and aches, everything. Pura corazones. Ow!
And we out.
Yo.
With love for the art, that's the vibe we feel. Yeah, together we rise, 3 queens in the scene, bringing the culture, living out the dream. From low riders to fashion, we celebrate life. Respect for the hustle, we're cutting through strife. Empowered and proud, we're lifting each other. Chicana our voices, we're sisters, not just mothers. So tune into our show, feel the rhythm and beat. Rolling Culture Queens, we can't be beat.